All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the analytics section sync on the 13th of March. I think I have the first topic, and I just wanted to give everyone a short update around the current state of the Jitsu to Snowplow conversion, because I think not everyone is kind of following along there. For some of you who are new to the section, this whole topic might be kind of new. And so I wanted to just make sure that everyone kind of knows where we're at right now, and also what input is still needed. So we generally want to switch from Jitsu to Snowplow as the underlying technology for our for the product analytics stack to collect the events. We already have the initial Snowplow setup merged into the dev kit. So if you want to try it out or something, you can go to the analytics dev kit. There's part of the README where you can see how you can set it up in addition to Jitsu. So it runs in addition to it. It shouldn't kind of impact your day-to-day work with the analytics stack in any way. You can just see it running in addition to the current pipeline. I also created a short video intro to Snowplow to give a short intro on how it works. And yeah, try to give a bit of an overview. There's probably still a lot of things open, since it's can do quite a lot of things. So if you have more questions or need for further introductions, then let me know. And then we have the GitLab JavaScript SDK, so the thing that's currently also implemented, I think, on the internal handbook. That's kind of close to being merge ready. We need to hold off on the merge right now, because as soon as we would merge it in, it would automatically update currently in the handbook, and we don't have the cluster on the other side ready to handle the Snowplow events, so that would kind of break the whole flow. So what I think, and thanks to Rob for bringing that up again, what we're probably going to do is add versioning to the GitLab SDK first, so that we can have a old version with the Jitsu integration running on the handbook, already start merging in a new version with Snowplow, and then just switch the handbook independently of continuing to work in the repository, so that you have, because currently the GitLab SDK is not versioned. And then I think, from my point of view, one of the most important things is that we still have two open issues where we have to make decisions. I don't want to go into too much detail right now, but one of them is to decide on the initial table schema that we want to use with Snowplow, because we have a bit of possibilities there, where we can decide to use certain things or not. I think what Max, I think, already pointed out, which is kind of funny, is that Snowplow still has columns, for example, for whether a real player is enabled or not, or Flash is active or not on a certain browser. So those
Director, don't forget Director. It's coming back. Wait for it.
Wow,
with the CDs.
that's a crazy blast from the past.
Yeah, you can run it in the internet, or you can get it on a CD.
I've still got the CD. I've still got the Macromedia CD somewhere.
Well, people started dating themselves with this. Yeah, so we can make some decisions around that, and then also around kind of how we want to handle API keys and app IDs and abuse protection in the beginning, because Snowplow also doesn't really provide something out of the box there. And both issues are open. You can add your opinion there. We can continue discussing there. If we don't come to a conclusion, I added a sync meeting for Thursday afternoon European time, and invited so far the people that were so far involved in the discussions, so that we can make a decision and then move on from that point, because this is kind of a blocker to continuing to work. I think that's it from my side.
Yeah, I added one more topic that we can then, based on the schema that we have and that we bring over to Cube, So that will be then the next step to create the cube schemas. And based on that, we can then also prepare all the GitLab Analytics front-end stuff so that we use the new field names, we use the new schema there for the existing dashboards that we are rolling out, and also for the visualization designer. And basically can prepare a switch over that as soon as we are reporting data over there. Then in the next couple of days, we basically merge and have a MR ready to basically cut over to the new data source then in our internal handbook project. And we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how that works on the back end, because yes, we need Snowplow in the cluster environment. But then as well, like we'll have to update the internal handbook with the new version of the SDK to start sending new events over to Snowplow. We would have the dashboards would still report on the Jitsi tables, but then we would upgrade the cluster so that the schema is updated on the cube end. And I'm saying this out loud so I can write it down on the issue later on the recording. But anyways, we would upgrade the cluster to switch over from the Jitsi to the Snowplow schema, and then we would push the update to the visualization designer if needed at all, or any of the front-end views, which shouldn't be the case actually. Or no, we would just have to, yeah. If anything, we just update the measures and dimensions that we're querying, but that should be it.
Yeah, it's pretty forward. I gave it a try when Basti was experimenting with it. We just need to update the field names of all the measurements in the existing dashboards. And in the visualization designer, the ones that are basically created for those is really a very minimal. And then after that, we can take a look to incorporate all the nice things we get through the plugins and enrichers in the Snowplow data to even extend our dashboards with performance data and all the funky things that are around.
I just wanted to make sure I had the right order of operations to make sure we don't switch something earlier than or before something should happen. At the same time too, just so I also don't forget, somewhere in that switchover, we need to fit in where we bring the old data into the new one. And we'll have a better idea of how to do that when we make the decision by Thursday on what schema, like what attributes we're going to use, or we can just completely ditch it.
I would ditch it. It's not worth it. I think it's a huge hassle. It's only the internal handbook. We simply have a flat line then for maybe 2-3 days. We switch over to the new. We have new data. That's where we are.
I mean, we're still pre-alpha anyways. So
exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Since this isn't customer data, it's just our own internal data. We don't need to spend the time to do a potentially complicated migration effort.
Yeah.
Good. My only concern from the backend perspective right now, although I don't think it's insurmountable, is while moving the measures and dimensions shouldn't be too difficult. I'm assuming that every column that Cube has, that Jitsi has, there's a pretty much analogous dimension or column in Snowplow. We'll be making sure that in the custom queries we've got in Cube right now, so specifically session analysis and funnel analysis, that we're making use of the correct new columns, and to make sure that we've got that right. I've not looked into it in detail, just flagging it up now as the only thing I can think of that's going to potentially cause us difficulty.
Yeah, I'll in writing this up, I'll see how we can potentially leverage the dev staging or even the test cluster to kind of do this type of verification for the custom querying. Ultimately, if we can start collecting data even in the Snowplow environment, you could theoretically connect your GDK to one of these clusters and then also test that there. But let me think about the right or the most iterative way to do that.
Yeah, we'll discuss this in more detail on Thursday, but yeah, just wanted to call it out now while everyone's here.
Well, thanks everyone. I just want to again point out what I think Tim mentioned very briefly beforehand. There's these plugins and enrichers for Snowplow. So there's also 2 open issues around that and kind of which ones we want to use in the future. So just so everyone knows, that plugins is whatever you add to the actual SDK, so what's getting collected with the user, for example, error tracking data, performance timing data. Enrichers are things that Snowplow adds kind of in the pipeline later on. So for example, based on the user agent string, you might kind of try to figure out which device it actually is, or based on the IP address geolocator user. And we have open issues around those. So I think those are also free for discussions around which ones we should build in by default, which enrichers and plugins, or which ones we might just want to kind of support optionally in the future. But I think both of those are not as time critical as kind of figuring out the schema first.
Awesome.
That's it then, right?
Yeah. Would anyone else like to bring anything up for the section meeting? All right. 18 minutes back. Everyone have a great rest of your week.
See you, everyone. Bye.